Rockford Fosgate T1 series. This one we had already ground out the lip, flattened it out. We just used the air grinder. We don't even put it on a mill or a lathe or anything like that. You don't really want to spin something like this fast. I'm not really a fan of this termination, wire termination. And don't get me wrong, you can recone these. It's just they're kind of a pain in the butt. I'm actually recommending against it. I think you would actually have a better time, and also it would be more shallow. Also, just think this thing's kind of a piece of shit in the first place. It's dual. I don't even think those are 20 millimeter. Let me get a ruler. Hang on. Oh. Yeah, they're only 15 millimeter. So that way they can say double stack motor, and technically they are right, but we gotta get you some needle nose or a screwdriver. But the cost on this is like, I don't know, $600-800. It's a lot. And then if you look at this frame, it's very minimal. It's 2 pieces. The screens just fell off. They were just glued on there. So, but you got to understand too that, again, this is, some of it is your responsibility in that there are other subwoofer brands out there. The other one is that, remember that Rockford Fosgate got bought a couple years ago by some like Australian investment group that also does like, it's like building supplies or some shit. There we go. Careful, these are sharp too on the edges. Just goes in the trash. But the motor's not very big. It's maybe 800 watts. In fact, this is probably the old T0 motor that they just stuck in there, and you can see the bolts go in the back of it. Personally, I'd be a bigger fan if you took the motor out, drilled and tapped the top plate, and just put the 4-spoke frame on it. That way it would handle the same power, but it would be much thinner, and it would be good for, like, you know, underneath the truck seat. And I keep telling the guys at Recoil, you really need to make, it's not shallow woofers, like, because when you call it a shallow woofer, a lot of people get turned off. They're like, oh, it's a piece of shit. You can make a woofer that is not as deep and still performs high, you know, high performance. So, but anyways, I'm still going to attempt this one, even though I don't really like it. And also the 90-degree terminals kind of suck. I do like that they built in the fuse to it, and you can easily switch it. That's cool. The only thing that I don't like is that you do not have access to a single terminal. So sometimes, like, I just saw in the Memphis Mojo, some guy, the butthole of the month for September. Sorry I didn't do that video yet. He kept talking about the Memphis Mojo and how they look really good, and the FS on them, they don't even print the FS unless you open up the manual, and then it's like 40 hertz or something like that, which is just waste of everybody's time. And they want 260 for each one. What they do is they do a little switch, and you've seen this on Infinity and a bunch of other ones. Is all they do is connect or disconnect one voice coil. See, so it's funny whenever I say, hey, you can just use one voice coil, there's like this huge controversy. Patrick, you're a hack. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Like, okay. I'm just doing what, like, a big major conglomerate like Infinity, which is owned by Samsung, is doing. Okay. And then also, you know, maybe a boutique brand like Memphis is doing. But, okay, whatever. But that's the only downside for this. Other than that, I do like it having the fuse in there. The problem that you're going to find, though, is that typically the fuse is too big, and it doesn't pop when it's supposed to. So it should pop when it gets hot, but it doesn't always do that. And again, I need like a web store, something that's affordable, because otherwise I might as well let me spit this out. Like your mom. So I gotta get like a web store that's affordable, because otherwise eBay is just expensive. But So we ground that. I think that's a 8.5-inch spider. It doesn't need to be that big, but it is. And then I'm sure this is metric hardware because these are all made in the other side of the earth where they use the metric system. But I guess I will go ahead and recon it. I was gonna make this video and say, fuck this piece of shit. Don't waste your time on it. But I'm looking at it and I'm like, I can still do this. It's like, come on, Patrick, do an ollie. I'm like, all right, I'll do an ollie. But yeah, and these are just glued in there. They have a little channel that they're in, and then they put some rubber cement on. For a long time, we used to pull these motors out, tap the top plate, and then I would harvest the copper. The copper is really good. It doesn't need to be 12 gauge, but I'm like, okay, thanks, Rockford Fosgate. But and then also the pain in the butt was this. So, but the guy that gave me this to repair also gave me a bunch of amplifiers. Let me show them to you. Did Ash move it? I think Ash moved it. There it is. We got a bunch of these plate amplifiers, and he brought those to me. They're surplus from the employee sale. Somebody at Rockford, whatever, got them, and they're here. Let me show you the back. So it's just their little plate amp for like probably 1 or 2 woofers. I gotta look up the part number. I can't really identify it. So we got and everything's labeled on the board, which is great. And it actually, if you can tell, it uses Mesa, which is where they solder the device to a substrate PC board, which gives it more. First of all, it gives it a huge thermal. Ugh, gross. It gives it a huge thermal transfer properties, which is what you want. And then it basically expands its capability. It's like if you, it's like for a CPU heatsink, if you were able to solder the heatsink to the actual CPU. And if you look at a CPU, the whole case, the top of it, sometimes they do that actually. They do like a metal top. Let me show you real quick. They used to do that. I don't know if they do that so much anymore. They've gotten them so small, and they all they do is underpower them now. Oh, I had a bunch of, here's one. So you can see this one. So somebody brought me a whole bunch of motherboards, and I'm like, the only thing worth anything is on the CPU. I'll sell it with the fan, but see that metal, that silver? That's not typically what the chip is made of. The chip is actually made of, it's like silicon, it's like a germanium type material. It's the same material that you see on the MOSFET devices. It's kind of dark gray, almost black, sometimes black. And then they put this heatsink transfer device. They couple it to it so it sort of increases the ability to get rid of the heat. And then here is your heat sink. And then it's augmented again by using a fan. So, and then this thing is high powered, or high speed, I should say, so it moves a lot of CFMs. And that's how they're able to put this in such a small package. You can do the same thing with amplifiers if you just put a fan on them or something like that. So I forget, who was it? Oh, I think it was Extant that they did it's like a JL design where it has, yeah, it was Extant. It has a heatsink just on one side of the board, and then it had 1 or 2 fans, and the aluminum that they use is what is extruded tube type, and the fins are actually on the inside, and so you just run a fan on that, and presto, it's as big as a big heavy fan that you would normally see, like this one. This is a passive cooling type, convection type. So, but real quick, I can do this review on this one, which is they use 4. These look like 16 gauge. They feel like 16 gauge. Power, ground, remote, input. They're labeled input and then output. So, but I gotta ask Forrest, who works at Cicada now. He used to work for Rockford, if he can recognize the part number, because well, I didn't look it up yet, so I don't want to lie to you, but I doubt that the part number will come up on the public, what do you call it, internet. So here's the case that fits on it. So there's your serial number. Oh, there it is. It tells you right there. 400 watts at 4 ohms. Perfect. So, and it's probably just a real simple bridge design. So I'm guessing this is probably the power supply. These are the outputs, since these are closer to that. So 100, 200, 300, 400. So we'll test it though, see if they're good. They look new, so hopefully they're just surplus, and I can use them to put into basically a bunch of combos that I have. I think I'm not sure if I told you guys about that, but you can buy these plate amps from Amazon, about 25 bucks. They're not as powerful as that one. So these are what, this is 200 watts. The heat sink's a little small for 200 watt. It's more like 150, but whatever. Some of these woofers don't even need that much power. And then what you do is you just, I actually do it on the terminal. So this is just a regular box that like you can get from me or online or whatever. And then what you do is you cut the cutout right here. You save the terminal for another project. And you just put the amplifier right there. That's it. And now you're as good as anybody. Because that's all they do in a factory. Except it's done by small Chinese children. So sad. For only pennies a day, you can feed these children. Sorry. My memory is long. I have lots of television stuffed in there. It's disgusting. But I'm going to be doing a bunch of... I'm going to get caught up because I went to... What was it? The boys, the Van Sickle boys went on vacation together, which is quite rare from Recoil. And so we're basically playing catch up in the warehouse and organizing stuff that... well, like basically like a lot of the I don't want to say production, but a lot of the shipping and stuff like that that we normally do has been shut down, and Brian and I are doing cleanup to sort of get the warehouse more organized. And then we have Chris's help, and also Ash, they're helping out, and we're just gonna get more organized so that they can list more stuff in the warehouse. But yeah, that was what I wanted to talk about was I got a review for the X-Max woofers. I think those were Larry F's fingers were in that pie during the X-Max series. I really liked the mids because the mids were like carbon fiber, and I would think it was about the same time that Orion was making their NT series, the Intense, and they made a bunch of carbon fiber mids and a bunch of other cool stuff too. I got these are new in the box, 6x9s. Those are for sale, and the X-Maxes are for sale, but I'll do a full review on those. I got some of the tiny motors from Lower to Base. Ultra Audio was their retail brand when Ken Brown was with them, and a couple other guys. But I wanted to get those in review. A bunch of other stuff. I got to get caught up on these videos, man. But thank you for your patience, and thank you for watching. I love you guys. I'll talk to you later.